I could be on the right path to presumption, or I could be entirely wrong. We're going to see together, but I read a title like Melancholy Angel, and I pair in association Clementine's beautiful vocals with such an ethereal delivery, and I think this is going to take on maybe a bit of a higher inflection point. It's going to sound quite angelic, hence the name, which she can deliver on quite well. And maybe the melancholy suggests more of a tragic mood, something more foreboding or emotional in the symphonic line, right? We'll see. I mean, I'll leave it to Visions of Atlantis to determine the vision that they wish to tell, and we're all going to experience that together, but I'm just offering up a couple ideas on presumption based on, again, the hints, right? But I'm sure it'll be well executed, whichever path it goes down, as every piece we've humored thus far from Visions of Atlantis has, and this is my introductory journey to their work, as many of you I'm sure are aware. We are now to the most recent album out of the lineup of what I've chosen to spotlight from a selection of works via The Deep and the Dark and Wanderers. I almost said Warbringers for some reason. Who's that attached to? That sounds like a familiar name. Anywho, not them. Anyway, we're now on to Pirates, which has had a fabulous introduction on behalf of Pirates Will Return. I like pirate stories myself, and they beautifully evoked the mood of a pirate piece on that sound of such a fresh liveliness, and the live performance made it even better, right? Put me kind of in the space of connection that I would imagine a number of you, right, we're hoping to see with me. Maybe to feel on your own. I know many of you are approaching perhaps on a long-standing relationship with the group that ascends me. This is very much, again, like I said, an introductory footing, but I'm having a great time, and I would say my level of adoration, which will certainly grow, right? I will never outrank you in terms of time, for sure, right? But in exposure and in adoration, I think we might sit at, comparative levels. This group is deeply engaging as a work. Their finesse and prowess in the symphonic metal territories interweaved with, and again, that's the particular lens of metal I gravitate to, even though I'm a metalhead, broadly speaking, I keep an open door in terms of other types of subgenres, including power and melodic, where they also play, and Visions of Atlantis being the first ever Austrian group I've humored, and that beauty is embodied wonderfully just in the visualizers, in the band, in the music. It's so enchanting, but that's what you get with European music, as I've said many times. It's just such an advantageous avenue to examine and explore around with fresh talents, which we do quite often on this channel. With music, it's a preferred art form for me, as I've said many times, a first love in my life, and to be able to provide an opportunity that we can share together in experiencing good works of art, because there is still that in the world, notably in the music space. There's not been one artist or song I've not loved humoring. Visions of Atlantis is the latest edition, and they qualify easily. I hope that you are, perhaps, if I can manage this in any way, inspire you with new groups that you have yet to explore, right? Especially on the European vein. I try so hard with people in my personal circles, and it just doesn't seem to give. But for many of you, it has. We've had connection points perhaps emerge. I've seen it, I've been witness to it at other occasions. Maybe with Visions of Atlantis, there will be some connection. I don't know. Maybe you come through one group, and then suddenly you find another. That is partly my intention of why I cover such a broad range. But we get to explore good work together mutually, right? Music is better that way. It's not as fun in isolation, though the works are still, perfect as ever and fun and beautiful to take in. It just means so much more when we can enjoy them. It's sort of like a bonding experience, right? Among fans where we have similar tastes. As many of you do, I know. You come through a lens of also being metalheads, or just general, advantageous listeners to anything in the good music attribution. And the many groups I highlight, the many you recommend, easily qualified. I love showcasing. I feel quite honored to be showcasing talents like Visions of Atlantis and bringing them in and fulfilling on your many curiosities in terms of the comment section of, when will you get to Visions of Atlantis? I'm doing just that. In a broad selection. I hope you're happy. And I don't mind doing it. I don't mean that in any way to be like, oh, I'm, condemning it all. I literally mean it. I hope you feel fulfilled in that the groups you inquire on, I love to go all out, right? I love casting big spotlights. And for groups as talented as Visions of Atlantis, I like giving well-rounded perspectives as well. And we've done that with this group, and I think they deserve it. I hope if you have not been introduced yet, this is a fun track for you. We're going to see the vision take shape and which way it goes down, if it's correct in my presumptions or not. Maybe it will deviate. I will allow that. Let's understand the heart of Melancholy Angel and experience our Visions of Atlantis work together. Let's humor it. This is definitely evoking a fantasy mood. On direct origin, I'm liking the emboldened edge to this album, by the way. This is a bit harsher than the last one, though those pieces were good. Pirates is evolving really well to my taste. Good even pattern on the riff structure. Mixed again with that symphonic tone. That was a nice inflection raise. Concise, short, but it works. Good momentum. Good balance on the vocal blend. I love hearing that operatic flair kick back in. For any of my peers who wonder, this is why I gravitate to the European metal and why you should too. The artistry on display, I've just found not much like it in individuality. It's so creative and ambitious. What a beautiful line. I love the drama of that line. I'm assuming here's our power metal segue. Kind of again with the riff. It's less intense, it's more... Any of this isolation to the symphonic flair, my gosh, I love it. The isolation that drops, it's just so perfect. I love the dart back in the original key. There we go. Love it. Beautiful transition. That's gorgeous. And the poetry of the piece on delivery. Yes. It might be centrally reliant again on manifesting again a pirate vision. That's sort of what the album is demanding, and what the band's identity necessitates for sure on what's been declared, and what I've personally witnessed now on 2 albums, right? There is that fantastical mythic vibe and that concentration. But there's a poetry to that piece that, again, I think speaks to people broadly, right? I like that broad appeal. There you are, a melancholy angel. I kind of think of it sort of like as a dark, like shadow self, right? And we all have sort of those demons in our lives, right? In a figurative sense. Well, maybe even literal too. I mean, as I've said many times, any content I approach, I do come from a backward angle of a Christian perspective, right? So I do believe, supernatural powers happen to be a thing, right? Demons are quite real, but we use it in the figurative sense, right? In poetic language, that are our dark sides, the things we don't want, right? Our bad traits, our sins, our shadows, right? That's sort of embodied in like the melancholy angel imagery. I just love the poetry of it. And the way this is articulated in the video is sort of again from that story of one conquering their demons. But again, it being acknowledged that is true to man's nature. I love how that's communicated. In presentation, it's so fulfilling. I love the imagination of the work. Yes, it has that fundamental pirate chic, right? But it's something else as well. It's a good balance. That chorus, I love how it's constructed. There you are. On tune, let me start on that. I love the darker tone to this. The aggression, throttling that back in, it's so cool to hear it, because at least on Origin, Visions of Atlantis did that very well. And Wanderers was good, but again, it took a bit of a softer footing, right? I was curious to see if that was, again, a decision of the album. This seems to necessitate a darker path. I am loving it thus far. And maybe there'll be a mixture of tune and evolution for sure in terms of the complete work, but this is just highly invigorating. I love the tone of it. It's so dramatized, intense, aggressive. I'm here for it. It just sounds so good. Mixed in with such a dark presentation of a real, ominous feel. It's so invigorating. I love it. The way this is constructed, though, on tune, again, on the symphonic blend, I love those intrusions, especially on the instrumental break. That worked very well. Even if maybe the guitar takes on more of like a hard rock flair, less of a power metal rapidity, but it works. I think it's sufficient, but those isolated drops are perfect. The pre-chorus sections, in terms of the vocal trailing, on behalf of both Clementine's and Michel's roles, it's so perfect. Perfect. Where let's pick Clementine's, for example. Hopeless, I'm drowning. Helpless, I'm trying. Desperate to find the reason I can believe. And then it lingers, right? There's that 4-beat measure until it kicks into the chorus. There you are, my melancholy angel, taking me from grace to sorrows. I love these lines. Lust has gone and future is a stranger. Buried are all doves and swallows. What a beautiful line. And just, again, the imagery that you see in your mind when you think of it. Poison tongue, magnetic monster. Where have you heard it described like that before? That's such an originalist expression. It perfectly, again, it manifests that image. Again, it's something we can't shake. Again, like a dark shadow, but magnetic. I've never heard that word used, and I think it works perfectly for this. God, I love the tracking of the number. It's beautifully told in imagery. I love the pirate sheet, again, mixed into a broader theme and application, which we might approach to different measures. Yes, for sure. Music has a subjective application experience in terms of how the listener approaches. Yes. But what we can agree on, right? What's delivered in presentation there on part of tune construction, vocal delivery. I'm loving every minute of this. This album is so good so far. Just 2 tracks in. I'm having a wonderful time. Melancholy Angel, a favorite work. I didn't expect something, again, of such a foreboding presence, but yet I expected something a little more tragic. It still is tragic, yes. With ethereal vocals. So I guess I did predict correctly to a degree, but I didn't see how extensive it would be, at least in the way that I imagined it. I didn't go far enough, right? Something a little more foreboding and supernatural, right? Evil, dark. I like that ambiance. Melancholy, almost like it sounds like a tragic yearning. That's so interesting. I love the wording of this. It's perfect. Perfect in artistry. Again, this is why I gravitate to the European metal scene. For anybody who's in my life who's asked questions as to, that's kind of weird, why would you do that? And I've gotten the eye glances that, facial expressions and body language kind of communicate things, if it is not necessarily verbalized. Kind of the implication, right? And I've gotten plenty of stares like that in the course of my life, even just generally speaking of metal. I have not had much relation in terms of my peer group. I wish I did, but I consider myself, not to boast, right? I prefer, again, to maintain a humble veneer, but I do consider myself in a bit of a fortunate position to be humoring so many talents I'm enjoying so readily. Because the talents speak for themselves, the artistry, the capabilities of what you hear. I can't get enough of it. And Europe is just abounding in that respect. Look no further than Melancholy Angel as a testament. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on this piece. And of course, I know many of you are going to approach from a familiarized lens to Visions of Atlantis, and I welcome your company, as well as first introductions, right? What path do you take? I'd love to hear about it down below, as your overall thoughts of the song as well can be intertwined in that discussion. I think it's perfect. It's a glowing number. I'm just really excited to see a return to, again, a harsher route with this album. I love it. It speaks to me, again, and where I gravitate naturally to metal, especially on the symphonic lines, and Visions of Atlantis has played around quite a bit. This piece, though, is digging back into it with such a fascinating vision and something particularly unique, with fun analogies that have been explored in different ways, right? But this is particular original, mixed with, again, such fabulous and fine-tuned execution. Top favorite in my opinion. This album is evolving very well, and I cannot wait to journey through it more with you, at least in 3 tracks of what I've lined up, but we are off to the races so far. And I think the last 3 pieces, just based on presumption of my familiarity to this group, I think they'll be just as welcoming and probably as capable as Melancholy Angel. I would just generally suspect. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.